Call the meeting to order. Tonight, we're joined by the Lakewood Creek School Cub Scout Pack 331. Will they come forward, please, to do the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, this will be fine. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much for coming tonight. We appreciate this. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Bond?
Here.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Hines?
Yay.
Trustee Burley?
Yes.
Trustee Keck? Trustee Kazmir?
The first item on the agenda tonight is a public comment, and this is an opportunity for any of the guests in the audience to address the board. Each speaker should state their name and address and sign in, and then they'll have 2 minutes to speak. Do we have anybody that would like to come down to the podium that would like to address the board tonight? You can address the board on any issue. Seeing any? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. That's a proclamation designating May 19th to the 25th of 2013 as Public Works Week. And I will read the proclamation and entertain a motion for approval. Whereas public works services provided in this community are an integral part of the citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewers, streets and highways, public buildings and snow removal, and whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials, and whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now therefore, I, Marilyn Michelini, President of the Village of Montgomery, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th through May 25th, 2013 as Public Works Week in the Village of Montgomery. And I call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing public works and to recognize the contributions which public works officials make every day to the health, safety, comfort, and quality of life of the general public. Given under my hand and seal of the Village of Montgomery this 13th day of May 2013. I entertain a motion for approval.
So move. Second?
Moved and seconded. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Hines?
Yay.
Trustee Burley?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes. The next item is a proclamation designating May 15th, 2013 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and May 12th, the 18th, 2013 as Police Week. And I'll also read this proclamation and then entertain a motion. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the Village of Montgomery play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the Village of Montgomery. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the Montgomery Police Department has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement agency that unceasingly provides a vital public service. Now therefore, I, Marilyn McElhaney, Village President of the Village of Montgomery, call upon all citizens of Montgomery and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 12th to the 18th, 2013 as Police Week, with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in doing so have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. I further call upon all citizens of Montgomery to observe Wednesday, May 15th, as Peace Officers Memorial Day, in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of duty. I further direct that the flag of the United States be displayed at half-staff on all village government buildings on May 15th, and in conformance with the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994, dated this 13th day of May 2013. And with that, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Burley?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
And the motion carries. And with that, we have the Honorable John McAdams from the DeKalb County Courthouse tonight with us to do the swearing in of the newly elected officials. So, and I forgot what you said your lineup is. Heidi? Okay. So if you'll go ahead, and if your family's here and would like to come down and stand with you, we would encourage them to do so.
There you go.
Raise your right hand if you could repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Heidi J. Jenkins,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village clerk
the duties of office of village clerk
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
And would you come down, please, Jeannie and Mrs. Lee?
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee to the best of my ability.
Steve?
Now, your family is here. Would they like to join you also?
Yeah. Just like me.
It's just kind of sad that I was looking at you from.
Okay, if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I, Steve Youngberg. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That I will support the Constitution
Yes, you can sit down now, you can come up here. I know where they sit, I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Okay, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee to the best of my ability.
You can sit down. All right. Sit down the other way. Go get him.
He's bashful.
He's running.
Nobody look
Yeah, look the other way. Now, my grandson, that's his age, he would be down here waving at everybody.
Yeah.
No, he's a real extrovert.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Matt Brown,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of village president
the duties of the office of village president
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
All right.
Okay, I will see you later. No, I've got my agenda, I'm leaving for him. So, take care. Thank you for always saving me. I just want to say that, you know, in the tenure I've had as village president for the last 12 years, I've thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it. And I just want to say that the staff is fantastic, they're wonderful, and all the board members, the present board members, the past board members that are stepping down, everybody worked together, we have a great village, and I want to say good luck to everybody that's coming on, and I know you'll have a good year. So, Matt?
You're fine.
All right, we're going to deviate from the schedule just a little bit, just to utilize the judge while he's still here. We're going to skip to items for separate action. Number A, the appointment by the village president of Doug Marisek on Jason Drive to the village board for a term that expires on April of 2015. And with that, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Take the roll, please.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Bond? Yes. Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee? Yes. Trustee Heinz.
And the motion carries. At this time, I'd like to ask Doug and his family, if they're here, to come on down and sworn in.
You could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. I, Doug Marisak. Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
And that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of trustee
the duties of the office of trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
And now the fun part, we're going to take about a 15-minute break for cake and coffee, if it's up there, and we'll rearrange things, and we'll get going in about 15 minutes.
Just in time for cake.
All right, we're going to call the meeting back to order. We're going to pick up where we left off. Board, commission, committee reports. Beautification Committee, Trustee Bond.
Beautification Committee has moved its normal Wednesday meeting to Saturday, where we'll be planting the bridge petunia plantings, and if anyone would care to join us, we'd welcome the help. It'll start at 9 o'clock.
Excellent. Thank you. Item B, Historic Preservation Commission, Trustee Lee.
It's going to be Monday, May 20th, 6:30 in the community room.
And right back at you, Intergovernmental Committee, Trustee Lee.
And that one's going to be Tuesday, May 21st, 6 o'clock before the committee of the whole meeting in the community room.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. We have minutes of the village board meeting, minutes of the committee of the whole, another board meeting, minutes of executive session, accounts payable through May 7th, and the building report for April. If there aren't any questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move. Second.
Take the roll, please.
Discussion.
Trustee Heinz.
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman, sorry.
Heidi, let's stop for a moment. I think,
Okay,
I
sorry.
just wanted to come, I was going to abstain from voting on this just because I wasn't part of those minutes.
You want to start over with the roll?
Trustee Heinz.
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling is abstained.
Yes, thank you.
And Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on, items for separate action. We already did A and B, so we'll move on down to item C, which is a proclamation that I will read. Whereas every day, an estimated 65,000 Illinoisans struggle with the disabling and life-altering impacts of lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease. And whereas lupus occurs when the immune system is unbalanced, causing it to become destructive to any major organ or tissue in the body, and is a serious disease that can damage vital organs such as kidneys, hearts, lungs, brains, and a disease can cause seizures, stroke, heart attacks, miscarriages, and organ failure, leading to significant disability or death. Whereas lupus can be very unpredictable and is potentially fatal, yet no satisfactory treatment or cure exists. Whereas lupus can attack the body for years before the disease is diagnosed, and symptoms mimic common illnesses, and often are dismissed as nothing serious, and more than half the people with lupus suffer 4 or more years and visit 3 or more doctors before receiving a correct diagnosis. Whereas late diagnosis and delayed treatment contribute to poor outcomes and increases morbidity and mortality. Whereas early recognition, diagnosis, and proper medical care of lupus can often prevent or reduce serious health complications such as heart disease, stroke, seizures, and kidney failure. Whereas while most Americans are aware of the signs and health risks of breast cancer or heart disease, relatively few are aware of another significant health problem, lupus, that disproportionately strikes young women between the ages of 15 and 45. And whereas raising awareness about lupus is important and can result in saving lives, it will provide hope for those living with lupus and comfort to those whose loved ones have lost the battle. It will inform the general public about the symptoms of lupus and possibly save lives. It will affirm the need for increased funding to researchers and medical professionals so they can continue their work to improve the outlook for lupus patients. Whereas the month of May has been designated as Lupus Awareness Month, observed to disseminate medically sound information about lupus, increase public understanding of the physical and emotional and economic impact of the disease, and provide support services and hope to all people affected. Now therefore, I, Matt Brawley, President of the Village of Montgomery, hereby proclaim May 2013 to be Lupus Awareness Month in the Village of Montgomery, and further encourage all residents and citizens to increase awareness, education, and services to all people affected by lupus. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Take the roll, please.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
All right, moving on. Item D, appointment by the village president of Tom Betzinger on Manchester Lane to the Plan Commission to fill a vacancy that expires April of 2018. I'm sorry, April of 2015. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any discussion? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
No.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
And the motion carries 5-2, or 5-1, sorry. Appointment by the village president of John Francis on Manchester Lane to the Plan Commission vacancy that expires on 2018. If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Was that Youngerman? Okay. Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
Nope.
And the motion carries 5-1. Another appointment, item F, Anne Marie Paulus, Hartfield Drive, to the Police and Fire Board for a vacancy that expires April of 2016. If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Discussion? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
And the motion carries 6-0. Item G, the appointment of Jason Bragg of Stacy Court to the Board of Police and Fire Commissioners to fill a vacant term until April 30th of 2015. If there aren't any questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item H, Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee appointments. And before you'll see the item in your packet. Before we move on that, I'm gonna ask Jamie if she has any, can you give an overview of what this committee is going to accomplish?
Sure. We anticipate that this committee will meet about 3 times. The first meeting is set for May 28th at 5:30, which will be the kickoff of the comprehensive plan. So that at that meeting, they'll go through some of the items and make sure that everything that we're proposing to do is in align with what the committee is desiring, and that will be the launch of sort of our public outreach as well. And they'll sort of have the first eyes if they have anything to add to any of the surveys or tools that we're intending to launch at that point. After that, they'll serve as sort of a check-in on the draft plans, as well as to provide some input, and then at the final end as well. There is still an opportunity for the public, which will be, we have set those dates, and it will be in the June water bill, that the community workshops are set for June 11th and 12th for the residents, and they are designated as East Side and West Side workshops. One will be held at the police station and one at the Oswego Library branch. There is a workshop on the 13th at 8:30 a.m. for the business community, which we are working with the MEDC and Chamber to put that together. And there is an elected and community representatives workshop, which is scheduled for, I believe it's Thursday, June 7th. Is that the Thursday? And we have invited representatives from all of the taxing bodies and entities, so the school districts, park boards, fire districts, library districts, sanitary districts, so, as well as all of you and the Plan Commission to attend that. So that will be the opportunity for all of our board to really project their vision, as well as the online tools and potentially stakeholder interviews that we set up with each of you. So we will be encouraging all of you to participate really beyond just the advisory committee. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions? Obviously, it's not up there, but the makeup of this committee is from the village. We'll have 2 trustees, Trustee Bond and Trustee Youngerman, and then 2 plan commissioners, Commissioner Hammond and Commissioner Kelsey, who's here tonight. From the community, we have John Amon, Jeff Fusick, Mara Johnson, Dan Conwent, and Justin Van Voren. And if there isn't any other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Back to appointments. I, the appointment of Jeannie Lee of 527 South Main Street to Historic Preservation for a term that expires May of 2016. If there aren't any questions, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Trustee Heinz. Any discussion? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
And the motion carries. The appointment of Jean Michaels, Catherine Lane, to the HPC for a term that expires May of 2016. If there isn't any discussion or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Motion by Trustee Heinz,
Second.
second by Trustee Lee. Any discussion? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, Trustee Lee.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Item K, builder agreement with Ryland Group regarding the purchase of lots in Orchard Prairie North and Saratoga Springs. And I will ask Jamie for her report to the board on this.
Thank you. Hopefully, some of you recall the discussion that we had on the 22nd with regards to this item. And we have before you an agreement with Ryland, which we believe is a very good agreement that addresses all of the issues that we had presented at that point. Ryland will be purchasing 57 lots in Orchard Prairie North and Saratoga Springs. With that, they wanted to make sure that they basically had all of their ducks in a row and knew what they were getting themselves into between us and the village with the purchase of those lots. So the attached agreement goes through some of the details that are pretty standard for the village, or clarifies a few questions that they had so that they would have that in writing. It does address fees, was one of the items we talked about, and by having Ryland put down a deposit on all of the lots, it does entitle them to the $2,000 fee reduction program for the build-out of these lots. So Omar from Ryland Group is here tonight. He did say that if all goes well, they're looking at a year and a half, hopefully for completion, 2 years. So we're hoping that that'll be close anyway. And we are recommending that extension of that fee reduction program. The signage was an issue that we talked in depth about, and the signage is not really addressed in this agreement. It's being handled independent from this. We have researched and recommended a text amendment to the sign ordinance, which the Plan Commission will be discussing on Thursday evening, and then that will be coming to you for authorization. It looks at, and those recommendations are out, but it does look at increasing the size for on-premise signs. But that will be discussed by the Plan Commission on Thursday night. And then secondly, there was a comment from staff that signs should not be permitted on village property, and signs will not be on village property. The existing Saratoga signs on Orchard Road that were in question, the homeowners association is actually retaining a sign easement, so they will own that property that was in question. And then finally, with regards to one of the comments that we had was that there was outstanding punch list items. which Inland was responsible for, that we were looking to get resolved at this point while we had the opportunity. And Attorney Anderson, Administrator Zoffel, and Planner Chipman actually have been working on this item, and were very successful on, was that Tuesday? Or no, Friday? Thursday? We're very successful on Thursday with Inland, and so we'll be addressing that issue independently with Inland as well. So at this point, we are recommending the agreement, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of Assistant Manager Ludovic? This, I'll just comment that when we did the $2,000 fee reduction about 1.5 years ago, this is exactly what I envisioned for that program, is to entice a good builder that's been in town to purchase some of our unfinished subdivisions. So I appreciate you guys being here and sticking around.
I have a question. We had talked about signage. It's not going to be on Village of Montgomery property. They still have to abide by the village constraints as far as square footage and that kind of thing, correct?
Correct. They do have to abide by current village ordinance, which does limit size. So that is the portion of the ordinance which addresses on-site and off-site residential signage that we will be taking an amendment to the Plan Commission for.
Is the amendment to the Plan Commission specifically for a builder, or?
Nope, it just addresses our size restrictions on residential builders overall.
Yeah, Attorney Anderson?
I want to clarify one thing. The signs that we're talking about that are going to be both on and not on village property, an easement is being retained by the homeowners association, so it is our property, but they are retaining control over it for a period of 5 years or until all the homes are built out. Their logic being that they want to ensure the build-out of the subdivision. The only way to do that is to be able to allow somebody to advertise it and market it. So they've elected to keep that, but it is your property, but you don't have full control for a period of 5 years. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's for Saratoga Springs, correct?
Correct.
And can I ask Omar a couple questions?
Matt?
Okay. I understand that you've been in contact with Chris Rowald, the HOA president over at Orchard Prairie North.
I have.
The only thing that I ask that you have a meeting with the homeowners from my subdivision, Orchard Prairie North, and also Saratoga. I know that they're going to have questions. I think this is a great thing, but just to put them at ease, they're going to have a couple questions. They're absolutely 100% behind it. But just if we can schedule a meeting sometime in the near future where we can meet at the police station or something, get whatever residents from those subdivisions or whoever wants to attend can ask questions just to put their concerns at ease, that'd be fantastic.
Sure, and that's no problem. You had mentioned it to me at the last meeting. It's definitely something that's, we're planning on doing. We didn't want to reach out and schedule a meeting until we have all of our ducks in a row. To date, that's not quite the case. So we want to make sure that we can answer your questions as effectively as possible at one meeting.
Okay. And I understand that the signage for Orchard Prairie North will be on the OPN property?
We're currently asking for an easement from the Orchard Prairie North Homeowners Association to place signage there per the village ordinances.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Youngerman, second.
Second.
Second by Trustee Marisak. Is there any further discussion? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes?
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
Trustee Heinz.
No.
The motion carries 5-1. Moving on, Resolution 13008, authorizing the purchase of electricity for street lighting purposes. And I will ask Director Pubens to summarize.
Thank you, President Brolly. As many of you have heard or recalled, the village has been part of NIMEC, the Northern Illinois Municipal Electrical Collaborative, since 2006. Since that time, we've been working with NIMEC to bid out electricity for municipal accounts. For the last several years, we've also been able to use NIMEC to bid out electricity for street lighting accounts. They are looked at separately and priced differently. So a few months ago, we went through this process of approving the resolution in which the village agreed to continue with NIMEC for the municipal accounts. In your packet tonight is a very similar resolution. The difference is the resolution will permit staff to work with NIMEC to bid out for electricity for our street lighting accounts. So this one doesn't have as dramatic of a cost savings as the municipal accounts do. The market is pretty tight. Our preference for using this is, we say, it keeps us budget neutral. We think it'll help us avoid any large increases in what we pay. We don't think we're going to see huge savings. Just for reference, the most recent bid for street lighting was 3.492 cents per kilowatt hour. ComEd or Exelon's rate is 3.537. So they're fairly similar. But again, it helps us get a lower price and avoid any unexpected increases in those costs. Be happy to answer any questions.
And that's a locked cost?
That is, we generally do bids for 1 or 3 year periods, and then depending on the results of the bid, part of the resolution tonight will authorize the village administrator to sign an agreement, to sign a contract. So when those bids come in, I'll get with Jeff, and we'll see if there's one that's more favorable to us and go with that.
Are they going to come out and repair the lights when they're burned out?
They don't do that. This is just to purchase the electricity. So the light repair is either still by ComEd for some of the lights that they own, or the village for the lights that we own. Generally, the kind of a quick way to tell is the ComEd lights are generally on wooden poles and will have overhead power going to them. The village lights generally are concrete poles and have underground power going to them. So, but this is just for electricity, not for repairs.
Any other questions for Director Poobitz? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved?
Second.
Second by Trustee Lee. Any discussion? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes. And the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Moving on. Item M, a 3-year agreement with Call One for telephone service. And I will turn it over to Administrator Zofel.
Thank you, President Brawley. Tonight, we're asking you to approve a 3-year agreement with Call One, who is our current vendor for telephone service. They are an AT&T reseller and offer discounted services through a municipal collective. This allows us just to lock in rates, usually at a better price. That I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
Any questions for Administrator Zofel?
Is this a voice over internet protocol, or is it a standard phone line?
It's standard phone line. Our current phone system can't do the voice over internet, so we'd have to replace our phone system too.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Moved by Trustee Hines, second.
Second.
Second by Trustee Youngerman. Any discussion? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Heinz?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Moving on, Resolution 2013-9, authorizing the petition for an extension for the project completion deadline regarding the ICC stipulated agreement 1640. In short, the improvements on Light Road Crossing. And with this, I would ask Engineer Wallers for his, or Director Poobitz.
I'll take this one. I'm ready. I've been practicing. Thank you. In your packet tonight is a resolution, a proposed petition in which the village will petition to the ICC to extend our current agreement completion date by 6 months. This is a quick recap. This project is to rebuild the Light Road crossing, which abuts the very southeastern corner of some properties on Orchard Road. It's kind of in that, if you were to go down, it's kind of in that in-between area between Montgomery and Oswego, but it does abut some property that may develop one day. The program is entirely funded by federal funds. There's no cost to the village. Engineering, design, construction are all funded by others. So the biggest bump in the road on this project has been that there's no dedicated right-of-way. Generally, when you drive down a street that's been there for a long time, the ground that that road sits on is dedicated, meaning it's already a public right-of-way. What we found out is that the roadway on Light Road approaching this crossing has not been dedicated, is still privately owned. So that has added some time to the process of acquiring the necessary right-of-way. In addition, Engineering Enterprises is working on an appraisal of the property so we can make an offer to the owner, and then we'll still need to finish the construction of the project, which for us is mainly the approach roadways. It's not, as projects go, it's not really large scale, but a little sprinkle of federal government just sort of makes things interesting. So again, basically, we're just petitioning the ICC for a 6-month extension. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Any other questions for Director Poobens?
Is this a cost-neutral decision? There's no expense involved?
Not to the village, correct?
I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by trustee Marisak,
Second.
second by trustee Hines. Any discussion? Take the roll, please.
Trustee Marisak?
Yes.
Trustee Bond?
Yes.
Trustee Spurling?
Yes.
Trustee Lee?
Yes.
Trustee Hines?
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Moving on, items for discussion. The flood response summary, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to turn this one to Engineer Wallers.
Thank you, President Brawley. I wanted to give a preliminary report on the April 17th and 18th storm, since it was a fairly significant storm. And as some of you may be aware, Kane and Kendall counties, along with several other counties in Illinois, have been declared federal disaster areas, so they'll be eligible for federal assistance as well. So that kind of puts it a little bit in perspective in terms of the significance of the storm. In general, the rainfall amounts probably range from 5 to 6 inches. There is a gauge that we use on at the USGS gauging station on Jericho at Blackberry Creek that recorded 5.26 inches of rain in 24-hour period. That would be nominally considered about a 25-year storm event. So from a statistical standpoint, that's what you would expect. One interesting thing, though, and I think what kind of put it in perspective, we also track a gauge on the Fox River at the Montgomery Dam, and that's a flow gauge, and it recorded a peak flow of 17,100 cubic feet per second. If you compare that to the 50-year published flow, which is 17,050 CFS, the runoff at that location was equivalent to about a 50-year storm. And part of the reason for that, I believe, is because of the amount of moisture that was in the ground prior to the storm occurring. So I think it had, a little more impact than just a 25-year storm, probably more to the level of a 50-year event, depending on where you were and the conditions that you had, particular to your area. I noted some locations in the village which we historically have issues with when we have major storms, and I'll just kind of quickly go through them. They're not intended to be a complete report of everything that happened in the village, but generally these are things that we will look at almost every time we have a significant storm. Probably the last one that I believe we went through, this one was 2008. So Parkview Estates kind of starts our watch area. That's along Wabansie Creek. That's an area that in 1996 had severe flooding, and the village worked with the federal government when we had our last declared federal emergency and purchased about 30 homes in that subdivision in that area. And so that area is subject to flooding. It's flooded in 74, I believe, 80.
72, 83, and 96.
Right. So it's been an area of frequent flooding, and it does have a fairly extensive flood protection system there that is a combination of a levee and a pump station. However, as Trustee Hines pointed out, that system was overtopped in 83 and 96. So it's an area of concern that we track along with Public Works and the police, and we usually try to do a kind of a combination effort there. And the significance there is that they have flood protection to a point, and once it reaches the crest of the berm and comes over, flooding occurs pretty rapidly in the subdivision. So we like to have a plan for notice, and we had worked with both the chief and deputy chief and Mike's staff to have a plan of action to notify the residents. Thankfully, the water level didn't exceed the berm, didn't come over, so we didn't have any extensive flooding other than, sump pump failure, or the things that a lot of people encountered. So again, that's just an area that we continually patrol, if you will, and then, of course, Public Works also makes sure that the pumping station is operating at the outset so that the water from inside the basin can be ejected into the creek. The inland property along Route 30, which is one of the TIF areas, is another area that we frequently have concerns of, and it's part of the overflow system for Waubonsie Creek. So we expect that to flood somewhere in a 5 to 10 year event. We will see water in that field, and you probably observed after the storm, there was significant water in that basin, and that was as expected. What we didn't expect was the slow drawdown of the area, and when we did further investigation, we learned that the culverts that allow water to go back to the creek had been clogged with debris from agricultural use of the property. We notified the owner, who's inland. They did respond, came out, did maintenance, and cleared the obstruction, and the property drained. So, it was appreciative that inland did the emergency response on that and got that water level down. So that's another area that we'll put on the list of things to check as we go forward. Third area is River Street. There's homes along river between Mill and Ashland that are subject to flooding. They're in the floodplain. Typically, the village, on other occasions, has provided sandbags as needed to those residents. That's an area that is difficult to protect because of the fact that they are in a mapped floodplain, and long-term, that's a little more difficult area to manage. And again, about all we can do is try to mitigate damage there, so that's what the village typically responds to. The Montgomery overflow of Blackberry Creek is an area of significant concern. That's the part of the floodplain of Blackberry Creek. It's triggered when the floodwaters reach a tipping point through Jericho Lake and then divert diagonally across Orchard Road down to Route 30 and then across to Pasadena subdivision and ultimately down to the Fox River. The floodway has a culvert under Route 30. That culvert was obstructed, and Public Works spent some time working through that problem and getting it cleared, and has successfully cleared the obstruction, so that's a good thing. It doesn't solve the flooding problem there. That's also a mapped floodplain, but it does allow for water to be able to pass through that area better than it has in the past. So, Public Works was quite busy, as you all know, during that period of time. The last location is the Lakewood Creek West subdivision, an area near Bryan Lane, near the Commonwealth Edison easement on the west side of town. This is a kind of a new area of concern that has not been on any of our previous lists. We had some problems, I believe, in '08, but we had attributed those to blockages in some of the pipes out in that subdivision. And this time around, we had some additional issues of large volume of water, large standing volume of water in the Commonwealth Edison easement, and we did uncover that there was a blockage in the restrictor at the first detention basin, which we believe was part of the issue there, but it has to be something else. So we're doing additional research on that system to determine what exactly is going on, and we'd like to come back with specific recommendations to the board, because we don't think that is an area that should be flooding, and we think it's an anomaly, and we'd like to be able to recommend some changes there that we hope would eliminate that issue. But we're not quite sure, exactly what that is yet. So as we learn that, we'll come back with a future report. Lastly, there are just two things, I guess. I think you all know that Public Works staff did a great job in just responding to a number of different priorities from everything, from blocked culverts to helping pump down areas that needed pumped down, along with, police and building department. So you should commend your staff for doing a really good job during that period. We also noted that there's probably a few adjustments to the emergency response plan that we'd like to look at and just refine so that we're better able to respond during those emergencies. Primarily like with notifications, that becomes a bit of a challenge when you're just trying to keep track of things and then make sure that people are notified in a timely manner. We've got some ideas that we'll bring back to the board for discussion on that. So that's the preliminary report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Are there any questions, Engineer Wallers, for this?
I don't have a question, I have a comment, though. I was out at Lakewood Creek West probably 3 or 4 times. I went after the meeting where they had come here and spoken, and they had nothing but good to say about Public Works and the response, so I appreciate that. We appreciate the dumpsters and stuff as well. I didn't want them to feel alone, and there was a lot of water in their backyards, and I would have been concerned as well. But they've said nothing but good things about Public Works, so thank you.
Thank you, trustee, and a special thanks to our 2 supervisors, Gary Byer and Jack Rosensteel. They really headed up the charge during that week with getting our crews distributed and getting materials out. So thank you, and I'll pass that along to the entire crew, though.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? That will move into new or unfinished business this evening. Is there anything new or unfinished?
I have a couple.
Trustee Bond?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just in the news area, a little more than a year ago, we were visited by the newly formed Montgomery Mustangs 11 and up baseball team, traveling baseball, and I received a note from their head coach over the weekend. They're now a 13 and up baseball team, and they just placed second in regional competition at Rock Island Moline. So all of the players and the coaches have a trophy, and we wish them well. They benefited from a joint village and resident volunteer effort to put a playing field into playable condition for them, and it's fun to see them be a winner so quickly.
Absolutely. And if you can get their schedule when they play in Montgomery, I'd like to
Absolutely.
see if I can attend. Is there anything else, Trustee Youngerman?
I have a couple items. First, I'd like to bring up the village manager ordinance. I'd like to see it on a future agenda. I think it's something that we need to discuss. I don't want to see it on the next agenda. I think that staff needs time in order to contact surrounding communities. I would like to see them get a pay range of what their village manager or administrator is making. That way, we can make an informed decision. I'd also like them to, as long as they're calling to get that information, call to get the information on all of the department heads, officers, all of that type of thing. That way, we can see and we can justify what we're doing.
Any discussion on that, or is there any objections?
Did
can
we
make this-
have some metrics for how to decide what municipalities are comparable to us, or that should be part of our thinking?
We have comparables that we use for our union negotiations, and we have some that we've used in the past when we've done pay and comp studies.
So we could follow those established metrics.
I'd like to see that stay at the senior staff position
Okay.
and above. But yes, I think that's a good idea. We'll have a good discussion on that. Is there
And
anything else?
like I said, I want to see it not at the next meeting
At a future meeting.
agenda, at a future meeting. I'd like the media to be able to put it out that we're going to, at some point soon, talk about that, so the residents can come in, we can see what they have to say, we can hear what they have to say, and if it takes us 6 months to get it right, we're going to sit here, we're going to listen to the people, and we're going to get it right, because I think last time we got it wrong.
Okay.
Next issue, trustees writing and creating village ordinances. It's come to my attention as I attend village meetings, I can think of at least 2 instances where a trustee's written an ordinance and pretty much force-fed it down the rest of the village board's throat. I think this board and this room is where we discuss the ordinances. It's not a one trustee deal. I want to see open and honest dialogue, and I want to see it in this room, not on Facebook. That's it.
All right, I just have two real easy ones. Historically, the first board meeting of June, July, and August, we've canceled that one for vacations and that kind of thing. Is there any objection to doing that for June, July, and August? That's what we had talked about, right, Jeff? Again this year? So we'll put that on the consent, if that's okay, for the next meeting. And then the other question that we've all talked about was the first cow that we have of the month. Sometimes it's on odd days and goes before the first board meeting. Would you guys be agreeable to canceling that for the rest of the year? Of course, we can always add it back if we need it, but this way we just have one cow, 2 board meetings. Okay? Put that on consent as well. If there's anything else?
I would ask, and I think I speak for Teresa as well, can you email me, could staff please email me a list of the scheduled meetings? That way I can get them on my calendar, please. Do you need those as well, Teresa, or do you have them?
That, I would appreciate that. That'd be great.
We don't have any executive session tonight. Future meetings, Plan Commission meeting will be this coming Thursday at 7 PM. Committee of the Whole meeting of the 21st. And then the board meeting on Tuesday, May 28th. Note the date change. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Take the roll, please.
Trustee Heinz.
Yay.
Trustee Youngerman.
Yes.
Trustee Marisak.
Yes.
Trustee Bond.
Yes.
Trustee Spurling.
Yes.
Trustee Lee.
Yes.
And we're adjourned.